Just have them go forward consistently. Once you can move forward and you move forward consistently, you're looking to get control of the hind quarter. Moving the tail, moving the hip, disengaging the hindquarters, whatever you want to call it. So you'll pick up your rein, move the tail until the front feet stop, and then you let them sit, switch sides every time. That's the first part of your bridle work. Forward, forward consistently, move the tail. After you're getting that, and you do that for a while when you're starting a new horse, until they start to get real nice and relaxed and flexible and they're moving easy off of the loose rein pretty good, then you're going to add in the nose to it, where you soften the nose towards your hand and get a little more bend and flexion inside their neck while you're moving in that circle. Now the key to this is to keep them moving forward. Because you've worked on the tail so much, as soon as you pick up that rein, they're just going to want to kick their tail out. They've already started to give their nose a little bit, but now you want them to still move forward. So you're going to have to find the balance of teaching them what means move your tail and what means give me your nose. And they'll start to learn that as you clarify and get more consistent with your cues as you go along. So we got move forward consistently, hand me your nose, move the tail. Okay, then we move to move forward consistently, hand me your nose, move the tail, back up. Now the back up, the key with the back up is that when they move their tail, that front inside foot is going to stop and pivot in place. That's your window of time to ask for the back up and get it nice and smooth and easy. When that front inside foot pivots, that's when you'll switch the pressure with the rein, lift up and back towards the shoulder, and move their body backwards. The key with that is you want it to be fluent. You don't want them to stop and break down and tense up before they go backwards. If they stop and hesitate and tense up, don't release the rein, just have them move their hip again, go directly to moving their hip, and then ask for the back up again. Alright, so we got move forward consistently, hand me your nose, tail, back up. Okay, then we move to the shoulder work. Move forward consistently, hand me your nose, and you lift up on the rein by their chin, move the shoulder out of the circle, like on a diagonal, which we do with our clockwork. Move the shoulder out, then release it, move the tail back up. So that whole sequence is forward consistently, hand me your nose, move the shoulder, move the tail, back up. You guys remember that? Good? Okay, once you can start moving the shoulder consistently, start to play around with your clockwork. So we have the clock, 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock is straight forward. 1 o'clock is when you're working on the left side of the horse, and you're working with the left front foot. So it's going to step over the right foot toward 1 o'clock, then start to work toward 2 o'clock, directly is over to 3 o'clock, and work with the other side. 11 o'clock is the right crossing over the left when you're on the right side of the horse. So the nose is bent to the inside, right foot crosses over, steps out of the circle. 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, then all the way over to 9 o'clock. Once you can get to 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock real easy, start pushing it to the reverse arc circles, where the horse is bent to one side, but is moving away from the circle to the other side in another circle. Counter bend, reverse arc circle, same thing. It's just, if you think of it, I like to think of it as a reverse arc because I'm moving in the reverse direction from the arc of the horse. So the horse is arced to the left, I'm moving to the right, and then bring them back to your circle. Does that make sense? Everybody got that? Very good. Alright, good. Okay, so then we move on to our ridden work. First ridden exercise that we did is picking up the hand and pointing. This helps your body stay up, helps your shoulders to get mobile with where you need to put the horse, frees up the motion of the horse's back and front. Keys with this are, don't let your horse sink his nose down or in. If he does, lift him up. The correction is an upward action on the corners of their mouth, and then you can ride back here. Now the goal of this isn't to always ride with your hands up here pointing the direction you want to go. Now you want to get back to here, you want to get finished and back to here, but at first you can make your corrections big to help your horse out. The things that this does also is it frees up the motion in your horse's body. When the hand goes up and out, there's no restriction on the horse's body. It's just guiding movement. The same amount of movement stays in the horse. You just direct which way the movement goes. You think about, if water was flowing, in order to flow or move the direction of the water consistently, you would just redirect the water. You wouldn't put a barrier in front of the water to slow it down and then go somewhere else. You just want to redirect the water. The motion of the horse is the water. We want to keep the water flowing. We just want to redirect, and we do that by upward action on the mouth, letting them move forward with no tenseness or restriction inside them. And then we can get back finished to where we are with our hands low in front of us. Okay, so after we did that, you go through all of your bridle work that you did on the ground in the saddle. You start out just by moving forward consistently, picking up one rein, moving your tail, stopping, switch directions, pick up one rein, move your tail, stop. And you're going to go, second part, start to work with their nose, get a little bend inside their nose. Once they start to give you a nose, they have a tendency to start to drop to the inside. You guys remember what we did to correct that? You didn't quite get there yet, but
Shift a little bit.
hands up type. And you're starting to work on the shoulders. You're lifting the inside shoulder up, taking the outside shoulder and guiding it out there. So we're looking for bend through the body, but not necessarily dropping that direction. The horse has to remain up in his shoulders, but soften his body and bend his head to the side, but remain on your circle. Once you can get to the point that you're starting to keep your large circle with bending the horse's body, work on your reverse arcs in the saddle, work on what's called a flèche droit, where you're going down the straight line, the nose bent to the side, the shoulders are staying straight, but the bend in the horse's body without him going too lateral. We don't want a lateral movement there. It's just straight 2 tracks, but bent to the inside. So you're going that way, work on that stuff. That's all shoulder work. All that stuff is shoulder work, your clock work. All of it's shoulder work. It's just what we did on the ground with the clock, but just putting the horse in different positions. So play around with that, move it all over the place that you can. You want to get it as light and as soft and as much as you can all the time. So, alright, so we did that. Your back up, it was just like on the ground, but when you get in the saddle, I want you to start to add that outside rein a little bit when you do your back up. So you'll pick up, you'll move that hip, wait for that inside foot to hesitate, then pick up with both reins and take both shoulders backwards. The outside rein is more like a support rein. It's not there to really take the shoulder back. It just supports to help the horse be straight when they back up. So you work on that as well. Slowly though, once you get to that, start to ask them just to stop and back up. If they don't, use the hip as a correction to get them to back up softer. But give them the opportunity to just pick up both reins and stop square, and then correct with the hip, whichever side you need to. Okay, so we did that. Stopping exercise. 3 different stops. Reins first, then your seat, then your vocal. Work all 3 individually, 5-10 minutes, work on them, then put them all together and get one good stop. First one's your rein stop. You don't do anything with your seat, nothing with your vocal, just your reins. Then you move to your seat stop, and the reins correct the seat. If I sit and the horse doesn't stop, pick up the reins, correct it, so they lock onto your seat. Then you move to your vocal. Say the word, don't do anything with your hands or your seat, just say the word, ho, and then if they don't get it, you can sit and pick up the reins to correct your vocal. Then when you've finished all 3 of those phases, go back and do them all together. Ho, sit, reins all at once, ho, sit, rein, go ahead and stop. And you train all those individually. That's a progression. It takes time to build each one of those. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't come right away. It takes time. It takes several sessions to start to build those in until they start to lock on. So we went through that. Okay, mounting exercise. For those of you guys who saw it, if you have a horse that has trouble standing still while mounting, it's very, very simple. You get up on them and they go to move them one direction, just like we did on the ground. Move them a direction with energy. The key is they have to put just over the amount of energy that they want to put in it. So if he walks at 1 mile an hour off, I'm going to make him move at 2 or 3 miles an hour. A little more energy, capture the idea of walking off, it becomes your idea, put more energy into what they want to give, and then present the opportunity for them to stand still. So, you move them one direction, you move them the other direction, you move them backwards, and then one step forward, and then get back up like nothing ever happened. You gotta wipe it from your memory. It never happened. It's not personal. The horse isn't out to get you. It never happened. The horse never walked off. It's like a regular old day. Loose rein is key. Gotta have a nice loose rein. Give them the opportunity to make the mistake. If you never give them the opportunity and you're always holding with a tight rein or a tight inside rein or anything like that, then they're just giving them an excuse. Make sure that they can learn it with nothing helping them out. That's what's going to help you down the road when you're out on the trail and you really need to get up there and everybody's excited and running around. Your horse has to be dead solid with nothing helping him. Okay, so you have that one. Anything else?
That I know of, just her exercise with the backing up.
Right.
With him.
Yeah, those of you who didn't see it, this particular horse with her backing up had some sort of block that he didn't want to do it with the rider on it. If you get into a case that you can do something on the ground, but for some reason they just refuse to do it with the rider on it, go ahead and did what me and Melanie did, where you put a rider up there. They don't send any signals. You still work with the horse on the ground. There's just now a sack of potatoes on their back riding on it. Then slowly start to build up where they pick up the reins, they're starting to cue, but you're still cueing on the ground with them, and slowly start to back away. This helps sometimes horses that just have a mental block with doing it with a rider, that they can transition that pretty easily. It's kind of like a last resort sort of scenario, but it does help sometimes if they just can't get past that block. Then you can go ahead and help them out with that. Okay.
Question: your one rein stop should always be up.
I like it up. Yeah, I like
versus
it up.
up. I mean, that's
Versus
the
back here. I find too often when you're pulling back, either the horse kicks out too fast, or he loses control of his shoulders and slips, or because they're going downward, you can see him just topple and roll right over. So because it's an upward action, they're lifting up from their shoulders and they're standing their body up, rather than charging forward and just flipping right over. Yeah, so anyways, the other reason it's an upward action is because what we were talking about with the mouth, and that it's not a pain, and it's not a restriction or pressure, it's just guiding. It's just saying, nope, shift your balance back, and go ahead and stop.
She had her mouth open when you were backing up, and it didn't look like it was hitting anything but just skin.
It's just the corner of the mouth, yeah.
If you were down, it
It'd be
would probably
locked
hit these teeth.
right on her teeth and on her tongue and the bars of her mouth. Yeah, and you know, especially when you're first starting a real tough horse, you know, when it comes to a snaffle, you pull back on two reins of that snaffle, and they're not going to stop. They're just going to give you a big old smile like your horse did. So that's why it's important to have control of those body parts, to have something to correct it.
I'm sure she's always been ridden in a walking horse.
Right. Yeah, big long shank, lots of pressure. We didn't talk too much about bits, just a brief view of the bits and why we use the snaffle or a different bit. The snaffle was called a 1-to-1 bit. Every pound of pressure that I pump with my hand is the exact amount of pressure that the horse feels on his mouth. The ratio is 1-to-1. 1 pound on my hand, 1 pound on his mouth. When you put shanks on a bit, no matter what kind of bit it is, it multiplies the amount of pressure that goes on that horse's mouth. So, you know, if I have a shank bit on there and I pick up with 2 pounds, my horse may be feeling 12, and I don't even realize it. So all of a sudden he feels real light, and he feels like he's stopping easy, but I've just tripled the amount of pressure that I'm putting on him. And the longer the shank, the larger the ratio that you're incrementing that poundage up there. So, you train with the snaffle and you work with the snaffle because you get a better feel not only for what your horse is doing, but it also forces you to change. I can't make the horse do anything with a snaffle bit. I can't make him. If he's going to blow through it, he's going to blow through it. It's just the way it is. But I can train the horse. I can make him better, and I can get a better feel for his mouth, and I can train him to be the softest he'll ever be with that snaffle bit, as long as my hands are working correctly. That snaffle bit can, yeah.
And eventually, normally they run through the stronger bit.
Yeah, they're just going to
You
run
gotta
through the stronger bit
constantly
eventually
change.
anyways. The horse can get dull in his mouth. They can get desensitized in their mouth to the point that they'll run through a 7-inch shank bit with the highest port you got on it. They'll do it. It's these that have to change. It's our hands. the way
So
we ride.
either the round or the full cheek.
Yeah, the full cheek is nice, especially with younger horses, because it acts on the cheeks of the horse's mouth and it doesn't allow it to pull through. Now, if you're doing a real good progression with your horse, you never really should have too much of a problem pulling through as long as the bit fits right, because you want to take it slow and easy and really soften them, teach them to soften to that bit. But I like the full cheek because it helps the horse understand that the pressure isn't on its tongue and the bars of the mouth. It contacts the cheeks of the horse before it even gets to the mouth. So you can actually get it even softer.
I might better check on my crazy. Sounds like she's trying to tear my trailer down.
Yeah.
I figured